All right. Hello, welcome everybody to Possibilities Beyond Depression with myself, Alan Jones, and the deliciously gorgeous Sylvia Remington.
Hello.
So, Possibilities Beyond Depression. It's interesting that we come up with that title, Sylvia, because you and I were talking about how we both lived with, and sometimes still do live with, depression. And what we really wanted to do in this conversation with people is just talk about how we got out of that mire
Yes.
that often seemed, just not, the only thing possible was to kind of take the route out and not be alive. And just talk about how we deal with it on a day-to-day basis, because there are days, I was having a bit of a so I've just come back from a holiday in Florence, which was lovely, and this morning I woke up feeling really flat, and it was really interesting. And I'm back in London, of course, so what am I aware of? It's and all the children go back to school today, so it's really heavy around here today. And of course I've been a bit cute and not bright, not been using the tools as effectively as I could. So Sylvia, where are you at with all of this?
Well, let's go for it. No.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I was going to say it's so interesting because right before the call, I was just telling Alan that I suddenly felt like I was going to pass out. And I sometimes forget, well, I guess I'm jumping ahead and then I'll jump back as I do. What I found, it's so amazing how aware we are.
Yeah.
And this is a big thing for me that I didn't, and I can just say how what my experience was with depression as well, so people can relate. But I had no idea when I was dealing with depression how aware I was. And there's so many tools I found about finding out that I'm so aware and that possibly all of that wasn't mine. So I guess where I was going to start is just say my experience a little bit of depression. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of people see me and they, and most of the time I do feel a lot of joy. Sometimes I don't, but in general, my life is a lot more joyful than it used to be. And I mean, I do have moments where I have so much that I'm a little bit crazy, but in general, I do have a lot of joy. And so where I was prior, can you hear me okay still?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Sometimes my internet cuts out. So if that happens, just imagine what I'm saying. Let's do an interpretive dance and be like, Sylvia's out somewhere doing interpretive dance. But no, so for me, prior to finding these tools and other tools, I had mentioned in that little video, I've had 3 moments where or not just moments, where I was planning to kill myself. And a lot of people see me now and they say, really? 2 of them, so all of them were before finding these tools of access consciousness. And 2 of them, I used to drink heavily, and I did alcoholic drinking. And 2 of those times, I had been drinking a lot. And is there an echo? Is that me or maybe somebody else? Did somebody jump on? Yay!
Holly's come to play. Hi, Holly.
Yay. Hi, Holly. So I was just talking a little bit about my experience with depression, and then we were going to go on of different tools. But I was going to say, so prior to using the tools of access consciousness and other tools, I had very intense times where I actually almost killed myself. One was when I was drinking heavily, and then I found some 12-step programs, and that helped. And I thought it was all cured. And then what I found is even when I wasn't drinking, I'd have these moments of massive depression, and I was almost planning it. And so, well, not almost planning it, I was planning it. And somebody, after I had stopped drinking, reached out to me and said, you don't seem right. And I was in the place of, I started selling my stuff. I actually had a date set, and this sweet lady reached out and said, you just don't seem like yourself. And we ended up talking. I ended up telling her what was up because I hid it even though she kind of knew something was up. And we ended up going to a therapy facility, and they were like, we'll lock you up for a while. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. But in that moment, I was like, well, I stopped drinking. Like, what else is beyond this? Is there a possibility that I could feel better beyond this? And so I started asking more questions. And about a year later, I actually found access. But I also started asking my body what it required. And so anyways, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, of like, because I could go into more depth of like the crushing feeling of how I felt. I heard recently somebody talking, and I did feel like I couldn't get it right. And also like I was broken. And I find that not to be true now. So I would love to hear what you have to say.
It's interesting what you're saying there about not getting it right and feeling like you are broken. You know, I think for many years living with depression, I didn't even acknowledge it was depression. And you know, and I'm not going to get into, you know, whether it's mine, all of that stuff. You know, we can talk more about that later. But at the time of living with it, I just felt it felt normal to feel so crap, right? Because I'd felt that all my life. And then when you see these people who were kind of almost more intense and more dramatic with their depression, that I was almost kind of going to, well, I can't be depressed because I'm not like that. I'm not drinking. I'm not taking drugs. I'm not kind of taking sleeping tablets. You know, I wasn't doing any of that. And yet I still felt absolutely, totally debilitated. You know, there would be weeks, like, you know, 4 or 5 days where I would just get up and stay in my dressing gown and not shower and not, exactly. And so when you're looking at that, it's like, and then when I did have, you know, because I got kind of more involved in complementary therapy, and I tried EFT and hypnotherapy and Reiki and crystal this and, I was trying
whatever.
All of these different therapies that would just kind of give me almost like this. It's almost like drinking to forget. So where people would kind of drink or take drugs or whatever it was to kind of forget, or whatever it was they were doing, mine was complementary therapy. I would kind of overdose on all of these different therapies to try and make and fix myself, because I couldn't even do depression right.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And then my partner became really ill, and we had that to deal with. And and he was having so then he did get a job, and then he was having a really crappy time at work. And so I was kind of supporting him and trying to support myself. And what was really fascinating was that nobody knew. No, and everyone was saying, but and so it's funny. I had done a post earlier this year, and a friend of mine who used to come to Reiki shares with me said to me, I had no idea you were in such a crappy space when we used to do Reiki shares together. And it was just like, well, you hide it. You learn to just push it. I would almost I could feel myself pushing this density down into my body and not allowing it to come out. Even my partner had no idea.
Yes.
So, one thing I would like to offer people, who are watching this now is there's no right or wrong way to do depression.
Yeah.
When you feel like whatever it is for you, that if you notice yourself not having showers, or you just don't want to talk to anyone, I'm not saying rush out, oh my God, I must be depressed, but just look at it and ask a question, what is this? Because unless sometimes we acknowledge what it is that we're dealing with, we can't change it.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the thing, was I was looking for the root cause of what was causing my depression, or causing me to be broken, and trying to fix it, rather than just acknowledging, hey, do you know what? I'm just feeling really depressed. That's how I was feeling. And when you acknowledge it, you can then start to look at, okay, so this is what I'm feeling. What can I choose instead that makes me feel slightly better? And one of the things for me that actually still does work for me now is something that the Esther and who would then Jerry Hicks, you know, he's now dead, but Esther Hicks, who does the law of attraction, and you know, she had this what they call the hierarchy of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And what she's saying is at the bottom is fear and depression, and at the top is joy. And there's a whole heap of kind of emotions on this kind of vibrational scale as you go up. And if you're all the way down here, and because people will say to you when you're feeling down, like, oh, you know, just go out, you know, you have a drink, you'll feel better, you know, pull yourself
Or
together.
Snap out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snap out of it. Yeah.
And that, I think, is one of the worst things you can ever say to anyone, including yourself. You know, how often, I don't know about you, Sylvia, but me, it's like, oh, just, by the way, everyone, I swear. So I'm kind of giving you a warning now. If you don't like swearing,
do it.
So I was like, just fucking pull yourself together. Stop being so stupid. Stop being so childish. Stop being so dramatic. And, you know, all of this self-judgment, self-hatred to try and snap out of it. But so what this thing was, you know, what basically Esther was saying was, for instance, if you're feeling fear or depression, you're feeling helpless. And often feeling angry is kind of a step, because when you're feeling angry, you're feeling more potent. You're feeling like you're almost kind of, you're pulling that action energy up. And then you kind of move to frustration, and then you move to kind of hope, and then you move to kind of, so, I mean, there's a whole heap of these emotions. It's you know, so I would kind of try and reach for emotions that felt space, just more ease for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, so it's like, what emotion can I feel right now that actually would just give me some space?
Mm.
And what if I don't make myself wrong for how I am feeling right now?
Yeah. Yeah, some different things, like initially, even before using some of the access tools, a big thing was, well, first was when that person reached out to me, not that, you know, I mean, not that you need to reach out to somebody, but when this person actually said, hey, how are you? And I said, well, actually, I'm throwing away my stuff. I'm like, I had the courage to say, like, this is what's going on. I didn't anybody, like, it was such an intensity of what I was experiencing in my body, and such an intensity almost of like awareness of like almost oppression, that I actually thought there would be more lightness if I killed myself, and that the world would be better off. And when like what I was also, maybe I'm hoping for this conversation, is that there are people out there that actually do care and see, like, well, this person, like like having that conversation with me made me realize, oh wait, I'm actually a gift, like, and that somebody actually, that there was another possibility out there, and that people actually, I don't know, there was something about that really shifted things. And then the whole piece of like, what I am so astounded by even now is that this tool of that, that so much of what we experience in life is not even ours, that we're like, that was a big thing that I heard. It even gives me chills now, that like, they say something like 98% of our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions, it was a tool I heard in Access Consciousness, don't even belong to me. And I was like, what? And so even like at the beginning of this call, you said you were so tired, and this massive thing of like, I didn't believe it. And still there are moments I don't believe it. I'm like, really? But I'm experiencing this in my body, so it must be mine.
Yeah.
When I realized, wait a minute, I'm aware. Like, I'm aware. Even today I get like, what? I'm aware. And that I'm aware of depression in the world, and I'm aware of other people's emotions, and I'm experiencing them in my body. That started shifting it incrementally, even though I still believed that wasn't true. But little by little, I've had conversations with people where I say something and they go, oh, that was just in my head. And I go, oh, maybe I'm aware, as opposed to it all being me. But it's been a process too. I know this is just like a random tool I just threw in there. There's so much, you know.
It is a great tool, and for me, it's one of the ones that I think can create so much ease at the beginning when you start playing with it. So for people who are watching, if you've never heard of the Who Does It Belong To tool, it's a tool that Access Consciousness use, and it's about really acknowledging just how psychic and how aware you are. So, for example, if you're what you say as you're watching this, just reflect back to a time perhaps where you walked into a room, and I've done that before. I walked into a room and I suddenly feel agitated where I felt absolutely fine before. And you walk into a room and you're going this, and you can sense there's an atmosphere, and you don't know what's happened, and no one's talking.
Yeah.
Or as I do a lot of facilitation and coaching with people, and before, even years before doing kind of Access Consciousness, people would come and see me, and they would walk out my room feeling fantastic. Their whole life would change. They would feel amazing, and I would often just want to go and crawl away and die. Sucking all of this stuff out of their world. And so this, and admit it, I will have to be honest, I don't have to be honest, but I will be honest. When I first started doing that tool, when I first heard them talking about it, it was like, I was asking the question, but I didn't really believe it.
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
still hanging on to the stuff, because it still must be mine, but I'll ask who it belongs to anyway. And it was really just from using the tool again and again and again that it actually started to change stuff.
Yes.
And talking to people who do use it and going, okay, well, what if it can work for me? What if it can just work for me 5%, which is more than zero? And that's what I would like to offer people, is like, we invite you just to play with these tools if it works for you. This is diagnosis, this is not kind of facilitation, it's just, look, this is what's worked for us. Just play with it, just try it. Who does this belong to? Or another question that you were kind of alluding to, Sylvia, was, what am I aware of? Because when we start to acknowledge what we're aware of, we can then, it's easier to notice that it's not ours.
Yes.
So, like you and I, before the call, I was literally saying to my partner, God, I just want to go to sleep. I feel so tired. And it literally happened 10 minutes before the call. And then I get on here and talk to you and find out that, you've kind of had a quick nap before the call because you were feeling it too. Like, okay. And I didn't ask the question, who does that belong to? And so it's, I'm not perfect. But what I really get is, the more I play with these tools, it's like I said in the post earlier, what used to be weeks, months of getting over something, I can now change usually in minutes, if or sometimes it might take hours if it's something that I get is really quite intense, especially when it comes to like money.
And so the tool, like how I use it, and there's a plethora of tools that we probably won't even be able to, because in so many modalities, right? And so this one, what I do is, because I've done it different ways, because I also didn't believe it, and I've been doing these tools for like 4 years, and just recently I was like, hey, I think these work. It's kind of funny. So if you feel like you're getting what even I'm saying right now, or Alun's saying, I've been working at this for a little while, and it shifted pretty fast afterwards as well. But you can ask this question, like, okay, who does this belong to? Is it mine? Is it somebody else's? Or something else, but like mine, somebody else's. If it lightens up when you say somebody else's, there's a high possibility it's not yours. And you can ask for that energy to return to the sender with consciousness. So you're not giving this horrible energy back, but you're giving it to whomever it is, so they can have the awareness, so they can change it. And for me, it's been a pretty intense thing, because even like when I drank, I picked up stuff from other people, and not that it's somebody else's all the time, but just that we're so aware. And a lot of times, like if I'm suddenly crying or something, I might find out later, or later that day, like, oh, a good friend of yours was crying. And so there's a possibility that we're just so psychic, and that did shift it along with other things.
And I think, just to go back to, so when I was in the massive depth, and I can still recall the day, I can still remember how I sat in the lounge. It was cold, it was dark, the heating wasn't on, lights weren't on, it was about 4:30, it was kind of November, and it was just at that point where I'm like, okay, that's it. I know how I'm going to do it.
Mm.
And, you know, I was going to get up off the sofa and go and do what I was going to do. And the thing that stopped it for me was, my partner, you know, been given this kind of life-threatening basically illness that effectively could kill him. He was having a really crap time at work. He was nearly being fired. And then he was going to come home and find in a cold house, dark house, with me dead in the bath.
Mm.
And I look at going, okay, I can't do that. I just can't do that to him with where he is at the moment at that time. And I'm like, okay, no, I that's just not, I just can't do that to him. And so that was when I kind of made what I didn't even realize was a demand of, okay, something. And it was this kind of almost like desperate, you know, something change. And it was something has got to fucking change. All right, that's it. I don't care. I'm done. And that was when, and it was literally, I think, 6 weeks later that I heard Rika Zimmerman, who was in Access Consciousness at the time, just doing this telecall on money, because money was my thing. Money was the thing that kept pulling me back into depression. Money. I was like, not enough money. And, and there it is. And it's one of the sure triggers for me. You know, if money starts to feel a bit tight, then it's almost like the tantalizing, hey, come back to the nasty depression, you know, kind of like, and I can recognize that now.
Like, you're not good enough because you don't have money, all those things.
Yeah, so all of that. I mean, all of that stuff. And how many people in the world stress about money? How many people are depressed about money? And, you know, when, especially towards the end of the month, you know, if people get paid monthly, or the end of the week, if they get paid weekly. So, and then it comes back to what you were saying about the whole psychic thing. So I'd heard, so Rika was doing all of this talking, and a lot of what she said seemed to make sense. And she used something called the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which I won't go into here, but I'm looking at it going, that's a load of shit. that how can mumbling a few bizarre words change? And I was really angry with her. And but I couldn't switch it off, because there was something in what she was saying. It was just like, there's something here for me. And so I listened to her, and I listened to her again, and then I heard Dr. Dane here, who's the co-founder of Access Consciousness, talking. Oh God, this man just blew me away, because his story is very similar to my own with where he was. And
me too. Yeah.
So,
that's a dream. I was like, what? There's somebody else, and he's living a life now. Yeah. So
a friend of mine. So we were eating up as much as we possibly could. Get Dane and Rika on these telecalls, these free telecalls, because I didn't have any money to buy the packages. My friend bought them and she shared them with me, which is so sorry. Whoops. So we listened to these calls together and listened to the clearing loops, and it just got easier and easier. And then it was in about the May that she text messaged me and asked me if I wanted a copy of Dane's book, Being You, Changing the World. And she was, you know, I'd like to gift you a copy of the book. And I almost went into oh my God, and I'm like, fuck, I can't pay her back. I've got, how am I going to do this? And I just went, fuck it. I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to say yes.
And receive it. Yeah.
And I read the book 3 times in 1 week. And it was, for me, Being You, Changing the World was that, and having my bars run, which kind of came a little bit later, was the thing that really started to lift it off for me. Because I've given tools in that book that started to make a difference. I think Jane actually says, I don't think he uses quite the same words as me, but it's like, what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are?
Yeah, that was a big thing, I think, that started changing it for me too. Yeah. It's very similar. Like, it's really cool hearing what the things you went through. I mean, I could talk about the things I went through like forever, but I'm trying to live. But I just love what you said, because I had a very similar, when you were talking, I realized kind of the area when it started shifting, because there was a lot of little things that would shift. Like, I made the demand to stop drinking, and then I did a 12-step program, and I did that for a while. Then I made the decision to start eating differently, what my body required, and that changed it. And then it was that missing piece of the tools of access and going to this class with Dane. And there was something about his acknowledgement of who I was, that I wasn't as fucked up as I thought I was. Like what you were just saying, like, oh, actually I'm a gift. Wait, actually I'm not as fucked up. Actually I have an awareness.
Yeah.
It started giving like a teeny window of a possibility of a doorway that, oh, there are other things out there. I don't have to choose black and white. I don't have to. I mean, I could choose to kill myself. That is one option. But there's like I used to think there were two. And then all of a sudden, all these doorways opened up. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try some other doorways first and see what happens before I choose that one. Yeah. And I mean, there was a little bit of still holding on to that. But then the more I did these other tools and started adding these other tools, and more possibilities grew and more possibilities grew. And the more I found I was a gift, the more it just went. And I mean, even now there's moments where I'm like, am I a gift? Or, you know, I still require to reach out to some people, either just close friends, or even recently I reached out to you and I was like, well, not help, but like, I could use some contributions. I'm beating myself up. And it was like that progression of using different tools, getting out of what you spoke to earlier, of getting more and more out of the judgment of me, because also there was so much judgment compounded where I kept judging myself for being this way, for being fucked up, for being unkind to the world by wanting to kill myself, all those judgments. And as they started like lifting, yeah, I was like, I'm going to try more. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I hear you. I mean, the self-judgment has been, you know, I still do it now, and I'm totally not clear of it, but now I can look at it and go, wow, that's an interesting point of view I have, you know, and who does that even belong to?
Yes.
And, so, you know, that one of the tools of access consciousness is interesting point of view. I have this point of view. So for me, it was like, God, I'm so fat and ugly. You know, and even when I was up until the age of about 23, you could see my ribs. I mean, I was totally kind of like really slim. There's a photograph on my Facebook page of me in swimming trunks walking on the beach, and I look at my body that I had then. I'm like, oh my God, I've nearly got a six pack. I've got a really nice defined, and I hated my body. I wasn't kind of muscular enough, and so, you know, all my life I've kind of judged my body. Or have I? Have I just been aware of other people's judgments of their own bodies that I've identified as my own? My own family have all got judgments of their body. I'm too fat is one of the things that I have 7 aunts, and most of them have said that at some point.
Yeah, you're aware of my judgment. Now I'm just
and so, you know, it was like, fat and ugly, fat and ugly, fat and ugly. And so when I look at that now, it's like, okay, that's just an interesting point of view. Wow, it's just a point of view. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that I have that point of view, and I can keep that point of view if I want that point of view. And then I look at it and go, so, and how's that working for me? Mm-hmm. And what if I am fat and ugly? What does that even mean?
Yes.
There are some people who look at me and go, no, but you're not. And other people say, yeah, but you are. I think. And so if you're constantly looking for this validation of not being fat and ugly, I mustn't be fat and ugly. I mustn't be fat and ugly. I have to lose weight. It's like, all of that is a big lie. So for me now, when I walk past a mirror, sometimes I'm like, wah! And other times I walk past, and today I'm having a day where I'm walking past a mirror going, hey, you know, I'm looking really good today. And I'm feeling really quite fantastic. Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling great. Because I've just come back from this space in Florence where I was just space. Mm-hmm. And being around people where it doesn't really matter what, you know, anyway. So where I'm going at with that is, who does it belong to? And then, wow, interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Yeah. And I repeat it, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And I use that for anything, any point of view that I realize I have that feels like it's that kind of icky, I can never change this. Mm-hmm. I can never, ever change this. I was talking to someone online today, and she had put a post up about, I'll never be able to pay off my student debt. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting point of view.
Mhm.
It's a point of view, it's great. But when you have that point of view, that's kind of your point of view does create your reality. And when you resist that point of view, someone somewhere is going to look at me and think I'm fat and ugly. Someone somewhere around the world is going to look at me and think that I'm not. Which one of them is right? Neither. It's just a point of view. So if we stop giving validation to other people's points of view, which often have bugger all to do with us anyway, they usually either you have some very and there are people out in the world who are unkind. That's something else that I get that we really need to acknowledge is there are people in the world who will be mean to you just because they like being mean, and they're not wrong for it. They're just fucking mean. But then we immediately go, well, I have to think something nice about them. Bullshit. Yeah. All of that kind of airy fairy spiritual stuff, look for the good in someone. Well, yeah, you can do that, and then you blind yourself to the fact that they're actually really quite nasty, and they will judge you as soon as look at you.
Yeah, and you know what I do? It's not an access consciousness tool, but I just, in my mind, do like ninja moves, and it makes me happier. I'm like, hi-ya!
You got to do what works.
No, but it's true, yeah.
Yeah. And, when you're looking at that, going, wow, okay, so interesting point of view, I have this point of view. So interesting point of view, I have this point of view, I'll never pay my debt off. Because I used to have that point of view. When I first started using the tools of access consciousness, I was £55,000 in debt. And I had few clients, I barely kind of pull money into to manage minimum payments on this stuff, and I'm like, this no. And now in the last, when did I start doing it? In the last 5 years of using the tools of access, and really using them in the last 4, I've paid off over 25,000 of that.
Awesome. High five.
Yeah. Woo-hoo. And by using the tools, like interesting point of view, I have this point of view, I can never pay it off. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view, I can never pay my debt off. And interesting as I'm saying that, I'm feeling even lighter. So if this is helping anyone who's listening, awesome.
Yeah, I love those tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Who does it belong to? And the other one that I used to use, which I didn't even realize was an access consciousness tool before, as I started looking at it, was okay. And I think I got it from Esther Hicks originally, but it was a different kind of way she talked about it. Was you choose, you just keep choosing, and she calls it forking. Right? And
what? I heard that wrong.
As you're forking, so you can, like, when you get you have a choice, there's always, let's just say, if you don't think you have more than one choice, there will always be at least 2 choices. And so where they go is like, if I get to this kind of fork, do I go left, which kind of feels really contractive and heavy, or do I choose this? Is there another choice that feels slightly lighter? And so she kind of, and you just keep forking and forking and forking.
I like that.
Yeah. And so you can, and it's almost like, so now I kind of adapt that. And it's like, what can I choose right now that would give me more ease? In this 10 seconds, what can I choose? And it could be going for a sleep. It could be going for a walk. It could be picking up the phone. It could be something as simple as making yourself a cup of tea, or watching a TV, or watching Netflix, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be
something big. I remember one of the times, I'm trying to bring it down and make it more depressing. No, I'm just trying, because I want to mix it up. No, but like one of the times when I was starting to do the suicide, it's weird. I'm having a hard time even saying that, because it's like all the points of view around that. I was actually planning, like, I'm all of a sudden aware of, like, oh, in case my parents see or something, but whatever that is, I'm clearing it out. So this one time, because this is in line with what you said about just making a simple choice, I was actually walking, and I was planning on walking in front of traffic. And there was a point when I was walking, I guess I was walking for a while, where it was like a little internal clock or something that said, turn around, go home, go to bed. Turn around, go home, go to bed. Turn around, go home, go to bed. And I just did it. I was like, I could always choose that tomorrow. I can choose this again. I'm just going to make another choice right now. And then the next day, more possibilities showed up. So I just want to say that choice thing. And do you mind if I add another little tool that is
No, God, share whatever.
I've heard it in so many different modalities, and I don't, so I always paraphrase Gary Douglas incorrectly, and then I get like, whoosh, or maybe not that, but in my mind I do. But I'm going to paraphrase possibly incorrectly again, but he was talking about the gratitude piece and how gratitude and judgment can't exist in the same space.
Yes.
And I may have heard that incorrectly, but in every single, like I haven't done a ton of modalities.
There's no judgment.
What?
Where there's gratitude, there's no judgment.
Yes, exactly. That energy. And for every single thing I've done, like modality, that element of gratitude, when I've done that, it's shifted things. Like when I was in AA, there was a thing of, and I don't even know if it was part of the steps, but somebody was asking me just to write down the things I was grateful for. And it totally, because I was so focused on the problem that I couldn't even, I just kept focusing and I kept feeling shittier. When I started being grateful of, okay, what can I be grateful for? And even in the depression, it was really hard to do it.
Yeah.
But the more I was looking at that, like at the time I had a dog, and I get partially I would write, I was grateful for him and I was grateful for taking care of him. And I get, like, that was a part that actually allowed me to keep going.
Yeah.
There was like later on in doing, what else? Oh my God, I just spaced out. But when I went to the second time I was attempting, listen to all the times. It's like all the dates I went on, but instead I was like dates with death. Okay, I shouldn't joke.
Dating with death.
Yeah, apparently, but so far it's only 3, so yeah, how to get better. No, but the next time, and when I was in that institution before, like they were like, you can choose to stay overnight or go, but they had me sign something and write down all these things I was grateful for, and that started shifting it. Yeah. And then the in access where it's like, oh wait, I'm gonna, like those times when I'm so judging myself and friends remind me, oh, what if you write down some things you're grateful for? All of a sudden, everything opens up, and like different places I've been a gift, I'm like, oh, there and there and there, and it opens up more. And then I also love when I've heard Dane here say, universe, show me something beautiful, like where you're like, fuck, I don't know what else to do, but like, fuck, And I remember this one time going like, universe, show me something beautiful, and then there'd be something that came into my world. So I just really love the gratitude piece, because that's gotten me out of like going down that hole. I mean, I've gone pretty far, and then, it starts like opening it up.
Yeah.
So I'm doing interpretive dance even now.
Gratitude piece, I think, for me was really difficult, because so like for me, it was a bit like I would watch Pollyanna when they played the Glad.
Yeah.
It is even now one of my favorite films. I just think it's fun and funny. It's kind of twee, but there is that, and I can look at it now and go, wow, I'm grateful I can see. I'm grateful that actually I don't have problems talking like this on camera, whereas before, I years ago, I would have hated it. I'm grateful for capacity. When the more I acknowledge what I can do, I'm grateful for my capacity to communicate, for my capacity with words, for my capacity to be an invitation. I can honestly say I'm grateful for all of those things now, but that was so foreign to me.
Oh yeah.
But I just want to pick up on the universe show me tool, because that for me is one of my favorite tools. And again, I'm so grateful. I am grateful that you brought that up, because for me, it's like it's so versatile. So
yes.
You can start off with universe show me something beautiful. It's one of the easiest ways to remember it. But I like things like universe show me everywhere I am great.
Oh, I like that.
Show me everywhere I am kind. Universe, show me everywhere I'm good with money. Universe, show me, it's like, because often what we get caught up in this world, this reality, is very much about look for your weaknesses and improve them. So find all the shitty things about you, and then right, and you don't ever get to acknowledging all of the great stuff that you do. Mm-hmm. So, universe, show me where I'm awesome. Universe, show me what I'm good at. Universe, show me kindness today.
I love that.
Yeah, because kindness for me is like gratitude. where you have kindness and where you have gratitude, you cannot have judgment. There is no judgment in kindness. So the tool, universe, show me, play with it. Even if it's like, universe, show me some ease. Right?
Yeah.
Show me what else is possible I can choose that will create more kindness in my life.
Yeah.
And as I'm asking these, I'm just I could just melt into this space, and I'm so grateful for that tool. And this is kind of how you kind of can play with these tools together. And then when you so on their own, they're brilliant. Using them together, it's like, wow, so from this space, what else is possible with universe showed me?
Yes.
And where was I going to go? Oh, bright, shiny.
No, it's good. I actually never even, sometimes you're given tools to use, and then I'm like, I have to do it right. And I love that, like, that you can play with it. And that actually, I never even thought to do that. And it's so, like, it brought so much joy even asking that in this moment of like, oh, yeah, it's so beautiful.
It's such an amazing tool. So kindness, that's where I was going to go. So another tool that I would love to give you was, and I'm going to kind of big up my friend Keisha Clark, who I absolutely adore. I did a whole lot of interviews about kindness, which you can find on YouTube. And in that, she offers this tool where she's, in this 10 seconds, what is kindness for me? Because kindness for me in this 10 seconds is going to be different to what it might be in this afternoon. And kindness for me this afternoon might be that space of going for a walk. And kindness for me right now might be going to bed. So it's like we get caught up in all of these definitions about what kindness is, and I should be out giving to people and all that stuff. It's like, okay, in this 10 seconds, what is kindness for me? Because this world is not a kind place. It doesn't prevail. And my aim in life is to create a world where kindness prevails. That is my overarching aim for everything I create. And so if we go back to the forking tool.
It sounds much like another word. It's making me happy.
And it's like, okay, so if I choose this, if I choose this, will it create a world where kindness prevails? Or will it not? If I don't choose this, will it, it's like, so when you're looking at any choice, so if I choose right now to commit suicide, will it create a world where kindness prevails? And for me right now, that's a big no. I'm like, okay, so it looks like I'm staying. Whoa.
Yeah.
And, if I choose this right now, will it create more kindness in my life? If I choose this now, will it create more kindness in the world? Because I get that the world, for everyone who's watching this and listening to it now or in the future, the world, I kid you not, is a better place with you in it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying now. So, and I just want to acknowledge everyone who's listening to this for being here, for being willing to hear what we're sharing. And, thank you for being that space of being you. Whether or not you can receive it right now is, maybe you can receive it in the future if you can't receive it right now. But you know what? It can get easier if you start to play with some of these tools, or you may find other tools that help. But if these work for you, awesome.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say too, is there are a myriad of possibilities out there. So maybe if this stuff doesn't sound like, oh, that's not going to work, if you get an awareness, or if you get like maybe I should call this person, follow that.
Yeah.
And that will lead to something else. Because like for me, it wasn't just like, oh, the access tools did it unto itself. It was like, I made a choice to start being in this community of 12-step. And that allowed me to get to the next step. And that allowed me to have a community of people that could show me what was next. And then when that stopped working, I asked for other things, or I added in other things as it was going. So there's just so much out there, and that each one of us has a knowing of what's going to work for us.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I love these tools in Access Consciousness because they really open things up. And then it got me interested in other modalities after that, so I'm just, and we didn't mention like what the bars are in case
I was just, let's see, we're on the
you were just thinking. I'm aware.
You are aware. And I was just about to say, so let's talk about access bars. So without going into too much detail, because you can find out more about it on the accessconsciousness.com website, but access bars is a way of, you just very lightly, it's a modality where you, or a process where you lightly touch the head in various places, and it kind of releases all of that kind of energetic charge. And
it creates a bar of energy. Because I used to think it was about drinking, and I was like, I'm not doing something since I quit drinking. So yeah, like that's what I thought. Or we're eating candy bars, which I love. But
that would have been more me. The candy bars would have been more me, because
So sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say that.
Perfect.
I was like, do you get a bar and somebody hits you with it? Like, I didn't know. So
it's really interesting, because the advert kind of, when I heard it, was saying, when you have your bars run, it feels like, the very worst, you'll feel like you had a great massage. And when my first bars class, we learned on kind of desks with yoga mats. So I'm laying on this hard wooden table underneath me and no pillow for an hour, and I didn't feel like I'd had a massage. I was like, my whole body was like, and there was a screaming baby in the room. But what I did notice was that my head was more quiet.
Yes.
But I still didn't really, for me, I really didn't, because for me, bars very much is about receiving. It is, and I didn't get that for 3 years of having my bars run. And was it about 3 years? I think it was about 3 years. And it wasn't until I went to a class with someone called Glenise Hughes, who's an amazing access
I love her.
Yeah. And she did some kind of processing with me, and we kind of cleared all of my points of view about being able to receive. And since then, I get my bars run now, usually at least once a week, if I can, 2 or 3 times, because it's such a gift to me. It does create kind of a relief, not just for my head, because I used to have these constant voices and kind of, you're crap, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're in there, you're broken, you'll never fix it. And all of these voices in my head that, when I had my bars run, stopped.
Yes.
And the more I had my bars run, the less they kind of creep back in. And so if you've never had your bars run, part of the Suicide Prevention Week, which runs from the 10th to the 16th, I think it is.
Yeah.
People all around the world are offering free bars clinics, so you can go and have your bars run for free. And if you go to the accessconsciousness.com website, I think, or we can put the link in the video at the end. We'll put some links in the end of the video at the end, and you can find a clinic somewhere near you. But having my bars run, just, if I'm feeling fractious or I'm feeling kind of stressy, then I know that I require my bars run. And so I'll phone someone local that, fortunately, I know some people looking and go, can you run my bars? And we will swap bars together. But I can't recommend it highly enough. It really did help to save my life, and continues to keep me far enough away from the edge that I'm not ready, so that I'm not at the space where I'm ready to jump off.
Yeah, me too. Like, when I first had my bars run, I was like, I don't know if I feel anything, because I was kind of closed off to even feeling any energy, but it still created more ease in terms of like that monkey mind.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, because there's been different times in my life I've done meditation, and I know some people don't do well with that, but like there were times when I used to do meditation where afterwards people, like the world would come at me, and I was like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, oh, this person's angry. Oh, that's not a big deal. Like, I feel good. And I experience the same thing. And each time it's different. And then other times I just feel relaxed. Sometimes maybe nothing, but then later on I find, oh, something shifted there. So it's such a gift for more ease in your life. Like, at least for me, I've found. And like what you said, that thing of, because there's been times I've been, like I would like to say I'm happy all the time, but I'm not. Sometimes life gets to you, and you're like, I work also in retail, and sometimes you saw one too many people and you're like, in your head you're doing that. And then I'll have my bars run and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm more space and more ease. And well, there's so many tools. There's also some, because I saw in another video somebody was talking about expanding out.
Yeah.
Like doing that exercise of being more space, and that also helped.
Yeah.
But if there's time.
Well, you know, yeah.
Or should we just
No,
refer?
that's cool. I mean, if anyone has any questions, by all means, kind of drop them in the chat room.
Oh yeah, questions.
Yeah. But you know,
hi people.
you know, so for me, it's like when I'm feeling that kind of that almost like kind of like solidity and intensity, if I just want to kind of make myself smaller, there is that. Okay, so barriers down, barriers down, barriers down, and I just repeat it. And you know, for me, it's like when I'm asking for it to happen, it does, and I just kind of ask. It sounds a bit strange, but just ask your energy and just to expand out, and it kind of does. You don't have to cognitively think about it. You don't have to try and work it out. Just ask for it, and it goes. And you know, as I do that now, I can just feel everything kind of expanding out. And for me, being in nature is one of those spaces where I expand out. You know, I live about 25 minutes walk from one of the most beautiful parks in London. It's the Royal Park of Greenwich Park. And, you know, it's an amazing space. For 10 years, we never even went there, living in this house. And right. And so now I try and go there at least 2 or 3 times a week, because it happens. I walk into the park and I just feel space. So if you have a park or somewhere green near you and you're feeling kind of maybe try just walking or sitting in the park, or sitting with your back against a tree, because it can go with what feels kind of, if it feels like it's, you know, just try it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, what else is possible? But being in nature, I find, creates such peace in my head and my body.
It's beautiful. When I'm out in nature, and then I'll see a butterfly, and then well, I mean, now it's a little more easy because I'm not so oppressed. But even I remember, just because it was really hard to leave the house when I was in that oppressive state, but even just getting out of the house, it lightened a little. And I love that that expanding out exercise too. Like I had to do it linearly because I was I still, I guess, am a bit of a control freak. I'm learning to let it go, but I'm a work in progress too.
And you know, it's like, if you're watching this, it's like, so just ask it to expand out about that side of your body. Just ask.
Like the corners of the room. I love that. And then, like, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. No, I'm so rude. I'm so rude.
You're not rude at all. I'm the one who's doing all the talking. So
no, I love listening. You're like soothing. I'm relaxing. I feel happy too.
I mean, the other thing that we've both kind of alluded to is that we don't always feel happy. We do have kind of crappy times, and there are things that you know, shit happens. So the mantra of Access Consciousness is you know. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And it is all of life. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. Even the crappy stuff, right? So for me, you know, and I never used to do this. It was just one of those, you know, I tried it, didn't work. But, you know, now as I'm laying down in bed, going to sleep, I actually just repeat it over and over in my head as I'm going to sleep each night. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. It actually helps me sleep. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I get up, I'm putting my clothes on. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And, you know, it's like all of life, even the crappy shit bits. Because there's nothing you cannot handle.
Exactly.
If I ask everyone on this call now just to reflect back to some of the most intense times you've experienced in your life, you're here now. Right? So there's nothing you cannot handle. And that might sound really twee, but that's what I'm asking you to acknowledge. Wow, I actually, you know, I have dealt with that. I got through it. You know, I dealt with coming out as being gay. I dealt with, you know, not speaking to my mother for 13 years and being abused as a child, you know, and all of that stuff. So it's like when you've had all of that stuff going on in your life, and you can look back and go, wow, I handled it. I handled the physical verbal, mental, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. And I'm here to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah, you're so badass. And everybody watching is badass too. That like you've come to this moment to watch it. Like I just like, you know how you said things can come up now? That all those tools help. And I had something happen recently that I didn't actually think would ever happen again. And it made me realize how aware, I would say a couple months ago, after doing the tools for a long time, and the awareness that I had awareness, I dynamically this one day, it was over the course of 2 days, was convinced I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And this was interesting. And so because I knew the tools and I knew I was aware, but I was like, this isn't leaving. This is really weird. And so instead of holding it on, like in the past, I would keep it all to myself and try to figure it out myself. And I reached out to some people. And the thing that I was amazed with is how, so what I had found out is there was somebody that was actually planning exactly or something very similar to what I was doing. And I was aware, and I didn't, and even when I'd ask, who does this belong to? Is this mine, someone else? I got it was somebody else, but I was like, how could it be this intense and still, and like me believe, like, so I actually, like phoning a friend, phoning somebody who actually knows some of these tools is such a gift, because sometimes when we're in it ourselves, it's hard to even see it. And then when I heard it was somebody else, I go, what? No, this has to be mine. It's so real. And when I found out it was somebody else, things started expanding out again. So I just had to say, because sometimes even after you've done it a while, like I would make myself wrong. Like, well, I've done these tools for 4 years. Like I should have my shit together. But things come up, you know, like I should have it all figured out. What did you say?
I'm clearly not doing it. I'm not using the tools, right? Otherwise I would feel okay now. So,
yeah.
Okay. So is that true?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah,
there is no wrong way to use the tools. You just got to, and it's not like using a tool once. It won't all change using a tool once. It is one of those things where it's constant. You know, I will use these tools all day, every day. And that sounds like it might be a bit of a chore. For me, it's not, because I know when I use them, it creates more space and ease for me. So it's actually a joy to know, wow, I can change this. Wow, I can change this. Wow, I can change that. It's like, and you know, I know we're coming to a close, but the last tool is like, well, how does it get any better than this? And I know when I first used to ask it, and it was less of a question than, how does it get any better than this? You know, how does it get any better than this? And really ask, how can it get any worse? So now when I ask the question, it is from genuine curiosity, and curiosity is such a gift, and it's something that I've always had. And I used to make myself, and I was made so wrong for it. So I like to add, I wonder how it gets any better than this. I wonder what else is possible that I've never even considered. I wonder what else I can choose right now. I wonder how it can get any better than this. How can it get any better than this? How can it get any better than this? I wonder.
I'll tell you. No, I'm just. I'll tell you how. No, I'm just.
We're not looking. That's the thing, because we're looking for a cognitive answer, and it's like when you ask that question, the universe and life kind of does respond. In ways that you could never imagine, which is why we often think it hasn't shown up. It's because it always shows up different. So
and I was gonna say, like, so, you know, talking about the darkness or whatever that I experienced. So I use these tools, and there were so many little doorways that opened along the way. And it didn't, like, for some people, I know it happens really fast. Some people it's slow. Now there's like, I use the tools and I start getting creative ideas of things I like to do now. And like, I just want to say, like, it's not just, well, I mean, obviously it's not just doing all the tools. Like I started going like, oh, I used to love drawing as a kid. So I started drawing again. I started like dancing again. I started doing these things that brought me joy. And in the depression, there was like, I couldn't even think of that. And as these, it's almost like a shell is breaking off of me. Like as it breaks off, and as you get like the true being you are is underneath, it's like then there's all these, like, you get awarenesses. Maybe right now you don't have awareness, but a little awareness of like, that would be fun. That would be fun. That would be fun. And like, I never thought I was going to travel again. I started doing some traveling and, you know, creating the ability to do that. So it's like more of you comes out, and then you get all these like creative ideas of what's next, even though it's hard to imagine it while you're in depression.
Yeah.
But like, and like, for example, you created that kindness group, or I don't even know what the name of it, but it's beautiful. Like, you put quotes every day, and that's this creative thing that's like has a life force of its own. And there's like conversations and play. And I just like, so many things are possible. And each person has their own awareness of what they love. And maybe it takes some time, but then you're like feeling better overall. And you're, oh, wait, maybe I like planting things. I'll plant some things. And then that brings you joy, or, you know, so I just have to put that out there, because I've been having more fun with that lately too, of being like a kid again.
And that's what it is. It's like, it's remembering what it was like as a child, just to choose because it's fun. And so when you play with the question, okay, so what can I choose right now that would be more fun than what I'm choosing now?
Yeah.
Because it could be drawing a picture. It could be, as I said earlier on, you know, what else can I choose right now that actually would be a little, even just a little bit more fun than what I'm choosing at the moment. And just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
So I need to run because I have another call.
Oh yeah.
So
I do too. Oh yeah, at the top of the hour. Oops. Okay.
I'm 5 minutes late. So
me too. Maybe we're on the same one, huh?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
We're going to go, and you know, we could do another call on this with so many other tools, but there's a lot of stuff out there, and you know, you're not alone. And if this has been a contribution to you, then that's awesome. I really sincerely hope it is. And you know, what else is possible beyond depression that you've never even considered? And what kindness can you be for you today that you've never been willing to be before? So thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. And thank you, everybody who's watching.
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for joining us now and in the future. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.